Hello everyone, today we're going to be doing a quick demo video on how to set up FSP or File Service Protocol from Windows 10 with the intention of streaming GameCube games from Windows 10 over the network to your GameCube. Naturally, the very first thing you'll need to get this done is a GameCube with the DOL-015 broadband adapter, and it will need to be a GameCube with Swiss installed. It will need to be a homebrewed GameCube. Now, we're not going to be covering either of those topics today. The broadband adapter, there's many topic videos on YouTube about it, and same with installing Swiss or Homebrew on your GameCube. We're only going to be covering the Windows portion of setting up FSP, and then the GameCube portion so that you can actually stream it over the network. So let's get started. The very first thing I want to show you guys is we already have a video on YouTube. It's the only one in relation to this on YouTube, loading games via LAN network FSP server. Unfortunately, the video doesn't really get into any depth on how he set it up. He just demos that it does work. He loads a couple games. As well, he does get into the details a little bit in the comments here, saying it's running on a Raspberry Pi with Linux. We're going to be doing a completely different setup today. It's going to be much more powerful on a virtual machine, and it's also going to have Windows installed on it. And so even though he didn't really show how to do the setup with this method, we're going to be showing a different method. It'll be part 2 to this video, essentially. Now, if you do a quick Google search for FSP or File Service Protocol, you'll find this homepage here. It gives a little bit of detail about it, and you'll also find these download links like Download Machine, FSP Proxy, FSP Client, FSP Beta, FSP Library, all of which have been updated, within the last couple years, 2019, 2020. However, these are all Linux-based methods. If you check the Windows, if you actually do a search on Windows, you get no results at all. If you do a search for Win, you get one Win32 result from 2005. Now, you'll actually see I already downloaded this, and I've attempted to use it. However, I was not able to get this to work at all. I followed the instructions. I got the Cygwin DLL. I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but I did install it. It's fairly easy to find and install. Made no difference. I'm assuming it's something to do with the fact that it's from 2005 and nearly 20 years old at this point. So don't bother with the homepage or the download. We're going to be using a different method to set up FSP. Now, I want to also mention this is a fresh new virtual machine I just imaged today for the purpose of this video. There's nothing else on here. You can see that it's a very bare bones installation. And so any of the steps I'm using today are going to be required to set up FSP. Anything that might be different from this video is specific to your machine. So we're going to close this homepage, seeing we don't need it. But if anyone has any idea what I might have been doing wrong with that version of FSP, please, comment below. Let us know. Maybe it might end up being easier than this method. But as of right now, I can't even get it working. So moving on, the very first thing we'll want to download is Python. So, you do a Google search for Python here. Python download. I'll have this in the video description. You'll find the very first link seems to be the right one here. It's going to be Python download 3.11.1. So we're going to click download now. And then we can hit install. We want to add Python exe to the path, and we want to install as administrator. Now, meanwhile, while this is installing, I should probably mention the fact that you can install or you can download any GameCube games online from archive.org. So I'll also have this in the video description. Most people will probably already know about archive.org, but if you don't, this is where you'll find most GameCube games for download, rips of the discs, anything of value pretty much is here. In our case, we've already got this games folder along with a couple games I downloaded as an example today. So if we check along on our installation, we're still installing pip bootstrap. We're going to close this. I already have my games. We can close this. We already have Python. Now, the last thing is we want to disable path length limit. So yeah, do that. Close this. Perfect. So we have Python installed, and that can be confirmed in the control panel. Right here, Python launcher and Python 3.11.1. The next thing we'd want to do is we want to download this, which I will also have in the video description. It's Gooby Corp FSPD, and this is the implementation of the script we're going to be using today. I click on code and I click download, and that downloads us a copy. And if I go over here, we want to right click properties and then unblock and apply. And then we want to extract this to our downloads folder. Now, once it's extracted, you want to actually put it in your games directory. And the reason I say that is because if for the very first time I tried to play with this implementation, I actually had the games on a different drive than the FSP install, and it was constantly throwing errors. It wouldn't work at all. So you want to always have the FSP installation, or folder on the same drive as the games. And the easiest way to do that is to just put it in your games folder. It will show up on your Gamecube, but it doesn't, it doesn't do anything of importance there. So you got your games, you got FSP in the folder. Finally, the last thing you'll need is a run script or a batch script to run it. I have a copy right here under my C downloads folder, but I will keep a copy in the video description. And again, you want to take this and paste it in either the games folder, or you can paste it in, the folder above it. Just make sure it's, it's accessible. Inside, we are going to modify a couple variables. Actually, in my case, they're okay, but we want to at least go through them so you understand. CD and then the path. So this here is going to be the path of your installation. Okay, so in this case, C users, Joel, download games, blah, 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 which is exactly where it is. Okay, I don't get the full rundown there, but if I run it down folder by folder, there you go. So that's where the installation is, right? And then this here is just saying we're going to run Python. We're going to run the script, this one here. This here is for address. Okay, so the way we find that is we go to command prompt. We open the command prompt and we go ipconfig. And here we get the IPv4 address. Okay, that's what you're going to look for your either your Ethernet or your Wi-Fi adapter, whichever one you're using. So in this case, we're using Ethernet. It's IPv4 address, and so 192.168.50.17, which is exactly what I have in the address. The :21 is absolutely required. This is for your port. I'm using the FTP port, but you could probably change it to something else without issue. The password, this is going to be or in this case, it's test password, but it will be what you need to secure. So, your path can't just be used by anyone. And then D is going to be your directory or your path in question that you want to share, right? So this one here is only the path to the install to the script. And then this one is the actual directory you want to share. So now that everything's been set up, being the directory we want to share and pointing to the installer, we just simply click on this and it will bring up a firewall prompt asking if we want to allow. We absolutely want to allow on both private and public. Maybe not public so much, but at least private, depending. And now that's it, you're done. So base URL being shared this is the URL being shared. The FSP server is running on this address. So now the final step is you want to set up a task scheduler so that you can kind of forget about this and you don't have to manually run it every time. So you go to start here and you type in task scheduler. You then go task scheduler library on the left-hand side. You right click and go create new task. Then you can call it whatever you want. I'll call it Gamecube share. Shares Gamecube files. And then you want run whether the user is logged in or not. This is absolutely required. Run with highest privileges. You can configure for Windows 10 if you want. The trigger, so this is what will trigger it. We want a logon event of any user. I'll delay it for like a minute before it starts, and nothing else here. We click OK. We go to Actions. Now we start a program, and then we browse to our FSP, that file that we created. Okay, then we also put in the start in optional. We put in the directory that it's currently in. This is optional, but I always put it in just to be sure. Then we click OK. Conditions, we don't want it to stop if the computer switches to battery power. However, I do want it to only start if it's got a network connection. And allow tasks to be run on demand, sure. Run as soon as possible if it's missed, sure. If the task fails, restart every minute for 3 times. If the task runs longer than 3 days, no, we cancel this one, we don't want it. If the task is not anyone requested, force it to stop, we do want that. And then down here, if the task is already running, then what we want it to do is stop the existing instance. And when it prompts you for a password, you type in your user password or computer password, and you're all set to go. What I'm going to do here is just come over to this and do a Control X, I believe it is. Or is it Control C? Something like that. Control X or Control C. It prompts to terminate. So I terminate, and then I run it through the batch file here, or the task scheduler, sorry. And as you can see, it no longer prompts. I can't see it anymore. It will automatically run every time we log in. And the rest of it is done on the Gamecube. I actually forgot one other thing while we're in here. We need to create, and this step is absolutely required or else it will not work correctly. You need to create a new folder. So right click, new folder, and then you want to call it Swiss. And then you want to right click in here and make another folder in the Swiss folder called patches. And then in there, you want to create yet another folder called game, or game, not games, but game, just game. And there you go, like that. You are ready to go. And now the rest is done at the Gamecube. See you there.
So once you're at the Gamecube, you just click the B button and then go to this gear icon in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. You click A, and then you want to go to the second settings page down here, and then initialize network at startup. You want to do yes, and then FSP host IP will be the IP address you got from the computer, the IPv4 address that we pulled up with ipconfig, or that we put in the bat file. The port is the same thing, the same port that you had put on the bat file. So in this case it was 21, and then the password, which in this case was test password. So once you've got all that set in, then you can do save and exit. And then all you got to do is select your device. So I go back to the one beside the gear here on the left hand side to select my device. I then go all the way to File Service Protocol, or FSP. And there you go. So now you can see that my games are there, plus the Swiss folder that we set up and the FSP master. If I run any of these, like Animal Crossing, it will stream it directly from my Windows 10 computer over the network, and it's much quicker than any kind of Raspberry Pi that you could expect. So aside from that, we are pretty much done, and if there's anything else, you guys know where to find me. Thanks.